and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson, and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Each week here on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, it's our Extra Life 2021 wrap-up show with Super Metroid, It Takes Two, The Artful Escape, Back 4 Blood, Dungeon Encounters, and holy cow, that's a huge list, and actually so much more.
Played a lot of games this weekend.
It is quite a feat. You can play a lot of video games in 24 hours.
Yeah, it turns out if you really set your mind to it, you can do almost anything, including stay indoors and play like 8 different video games.
Yes, yep.
It was good, though.
I summoned Sarah around noon. I was like, bring me my burrito. Where is my burrito? She's like, oh, I have to get you a burrito? And I thought we had this all worked out.
Well, we're in the era, or in the age of like DoorDash everything, right? Why don't you just have that on, you hit the burrito button and it shows up 15 minutes later.
Yes. And that's pretty much how it went down, actually. She didn't leave the house to go get me a burrito. She pulled out her phone and ordered one.
Just made her open the app on her phone? Okay.
Right. I was busy playing some game.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you had committed, so fine.
So yeah, Extra Life. Man, it was quite a day. We made a lot of money for Extra Life. It was great.
We did. Thanks to everyone out there for contributing. It was really amazing. It's amazing every year. But this year, especially amazing.
I think we go into it with pretty low expectations. You know what I mean? It's hard to ask people for money. It's not hard to play video games all day. That's the easy part of the whole thing. But being in kind of fundraiser mode and hitting up your friends and family and coworkers for money for any charity is, maybe a little awkward sometimes.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. Doesn't come naturally to me, really.
So I tend to lowball my expectations, and then we kill it every year. So perhaps we need to sort of, set some loftier goals in future years.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the same page. I like to keep the bar fairly low. It just feels more achievable that way.
I like seeing the little thermometer on the Extra Life site that says we beat our goal by 750% or whatever. That's nice, too.
I know. Yeah, that's always very exciting. Next year, we should just make the goal a single dollar.
$1 American dollar.
Yeah, and then that would be incredible.
Yeah. So this year, so far, Team VGH has raised $2,675. We are just a hair shy of last year's high score. But that's still a hell of a number, a huge number, and we still have time left this year to beg you guys for donations. So there is that. Around the world, Extra Life players have raised $9.8 million for the Children's Miracle Network hospital chain this year. So that's stellar as well. That is insanely cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like you're saying, we're just shy of our total from last year, which apparently I miscounted from last year. Last year we raised a grand total of $2,857, which means, like you said, we're just a little short. So if you want to go in and contribute that remaining $258 to just squeak us over the line, that would be incredible.
Or some portion of that.
Very generous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or some portion of it. As we kept going back to it and saying, like, any amount helps. And really, even if you can't donate, it was just terrific getting to hang out with everybody on Saturday, to chat with people on the stream. Various people were giving us technical support with some of the games we were trying to play.
This is true, yeah.
Very, very much appreciated. So it was a great just community moment all around.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one of those moments where knowing a lot of nerds is super helpful. Right. It's like, this game doesn't run, and like 15 people have an opinion on why. It was nice. It was a good moment. So huge thanks to everybody who contributed, who kept us going, and entertained us. I don't stream very often. In fact, I stream like once a year. So it's cool to hop in and see people from, the Discord community or listeners to the podcast kind of filter in and say hello and watch me play Animal Crossing for a little while or something. I'm not a natural host when it comes to streaming, but it's really fun to just have an opportunity to be social with the people who are on the other end of this weird thing that you and I do every week.
Yeah. I think that was before I was awake. I need to go back and watch your Animal Crossing stream. It'd be exciting.
Yeah.
Speaking of cool milestones, this year is notable because it's our 8th year doing it, but this marks a lifetime. What would you call it? Lifetime earnings? I don't feel like earnings is the right word, but a total lifetime contribution of over $10,000 raised by Team VGH, and by that I mean by all of you people out there. So that's incredible. That is
That's super incredible.
Just truly amazing. I don't know what else I can say. I'll just keep repeating myself. But we really appreciate all the support. It's really going to a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely. What a cool thing. Nice. So, man, I didn't know that number. That's cool. You've been crunching some numbers. That's that's impressive to hear that we hit that milestone. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the last time we will say it on this episode, but if you want to go to VGHangover.com/extralife, there is still time to donate. You've got until December 31st. For anything donated to the charity to sort of be included in this year's tally, and to help us push us over the finish line from last year.
Yeah.
So do that thing if you're interested. Plenty of time left between now and 12/31 to do that. Yeah, we'll hit you up again later. Later in the year, not later in the episode.
Later in the year, yeah. So how did the rest of your weekend go?
I was a little tired on Sunday. I was a little sleepy. Yeah. I had committed to a ton of things, unfortunately. I had made a mistake of
oh no,
overcommitting for Sunday. So coming out of playing video games all day Saturday, and treating my body like an amusement park filled with coffee and sugary things and a burrito. I woke up Sunday morning to hey, today we're going to do these projects and do this thing. And I had made the mistake of saying, I want to go see Last Night in Soho. And then, so it was just this whole list of things that we didn't go to the movies ultimately. I still have not been to the movies in like 2 years. But I thought that was going to break my streak, but it didn't happen. But yeah, the rest of the day was just packed full of doing things around the house. Yeah, it was a mistake.
Questionable.
I'll know better for next year.
I was very fortunate in that I took Monday off.
Smart.
Which I'd never really done on purpose. I had a day off coming from work because it's been very busy anyway. And it ended up being this Monday. But it worked out very well because Sunday I had it was just a half day because I got up around noon, I think. I was like, oh my God, what happened?
Oh.
So I was very, very grateful to have that extra day to just kind of reorient myself and be slightly productive. Felt like I didn't lose a day of the weekend because as much as I enjoy Extra Life, it really is just feels like a full day of commitments, which is it's a little stressful.
Sure. Yeah, it's also sort of the set your clocks back weekend too, so that kind of messes up.
Yeah, that also happens.
Everybody's brain. Yeah, my dogs are ready to eat dinner at the wrong time. Everything's all screwed up. But yeah, that's a smart choice. I work from home on Mondays, so it's definitely a lower key day. I don't have to be entertaining. So that's a plus, but definitely still feeling it today. It's the older I get, the harder it is to sort of play video games for a giant chunk of time nonstop.
Yeah. It was, man, even though we don't do the full 24 hours individually, those last few hours before we're scheduled to finish up, I still had a rough time with. I was just taking breaks every 10 minutes. So I was just I gotta walk around a little bit or else I'm not gonna get to the finish line here. Yeah.
I got a reminder from Facebook. Facebook does the memories thing where it's here's a thing you posted a year ago or 5 years ago. One of my first Extra Lives where I did personally the 24-hour stretch, 6 a.m. Saturday to 6 a.m. Sunday. And I had posted apparently on Facebook that I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf and micro sleeping on the couch. So doing that Jello neck head bob thing where you sort of doze out for a second and then catch yourself and scare the crap out of yourself and wake up again. And I'm like, nope, time for bed. I think I can wrap this thing up.
Yeah. I'm glad that was Facebook preserved that for all time.
Yeah. Listen, well, hey, if I'm going to stay up for 24 hours straight and post on social media, I want it preserved. I want to be able to read that later.
Yeah. All right. Send it to, I don't know, Library of Congress or whatever.
Right. The video game podcast archives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, played some games. I played some like good old like comfort food games, Animal Crossing and the like. And I played a few things for the very first time ever. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Before we get to what we played, though, and speaking of time off, got some bad news last week, which is that the Endwalker, the Final Fantasy XIV expansion pack I've been very patiently waiting for, was delayed 2 weeks. Oh, that was, I mean, it's a little subdued compared to my reaction.
That's a bummer. How sad for you.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
How sad, especially for all my fellow Final Fantasy XIV players who had already scheduled their time off around the release and now are forced to collectively go back and bargain with their bosses to push it back a couple weeks.
So when was it supposed to come out, and when does it now come out?
So it's supposed to come out, it's a bit of a staggered schedule. It was launching Thanksgiving week. Although they do this early access thing where if you pre-order it, you can start playing it the Friday before. Oh. So I was like, I thought the scheduling on this was perfect because, I don't want to take a whole week off for this thing. I know a lot of people actually end up doing that, but that just seems excessive to me. But I thought, Thanksgiving week, perfect. I can plausibly just like take the beginning of the week off because in the US anyway, we typically get Thursday, and I think a lot of employers do Friday as well. So I had that cover story. I was just like, well, I'm just going to, knock out the whole week. It's going to be slow at work anyway. But now it's coming out the second week of December, which is like in between when everybody takes off for Thanksgiving and when everybody takes off for like Christmas and New Year's. So I'm trying to figure out how to go back and be like, yeah, I need December 7th off.
You got to do all your holiday shopping.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that and workshop it a little bit.
I'll help you figure out your lie, DJ. I got no problem with that.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. I feel sad for all of my retail friends because none of this timing works for us. So there's nowhere in that window that anybody who works in retail, service industry is going to have an opportunity to play any Endwalker. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah, we'll see you guys in 2022.
Well, I at least some people can maybe take a day or two off. A week seems excessive, no matter what you're doing. But man, it's just poor timing to have to delay it so close to the release. They did a big presentation. They were going to do a big presentation anyway, like the night before Extra Life, where they talk about like features and things we should be looking forward to. But they started it off with this kind of downer announcement, and you could tell it was going to be bad news because it wasn't the sort of everybody was kind of in a understated mood to kick this off.
No trumpets, no fanfare.
No, a little less than usual. Then director-producer Naoki Yoshida came out and just said, we decided to delay the release. He did the full head on the desk bow to just apologize to everyone. So you could tell he was also just very broken up about it. It was very
sure.
It was very, very sad.
Never a decision made easily by anyone in this industry. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure to make sure you ship on time.
Yeah.
Internal and external, no doubt.
Yeah. The reaction from the community, though, has been very heartening because they're like, everybody is just, very supportive. They're saying like, you don't have to apologize to us. We want you guys to do your best work and, don't like crunch yourselves too hard. And, it sucks that everybody has to change their vacation days around, but, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Worse things could happen.
Sure.
So the community has been very understanding, which is, really you love to see it. So
good.
Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. That is not always the tone that is on the receiving end of an announcement like this. So that's exciting. Yeah.
There's been so much perspective from like the Blizzard refugee community that exists in 14 at this point, where they're just like, oh man, imagine Blizzard execs making the same announcement, it would just be they would have like an angry mob at the gates of Blizzard HQ or something.
Right.
Just sounds very unpleasant.
So any word on what the sort of source of the delay is? A microchip shortage, I'm assuming?
No. In this case, it's not a microchip shortage. They're saying that, this is, the culmination of this story that's been going on for 11 years. They really wanted to just make sure they do the best job possible. They really wanted to make sure everything is meeting their standards. They want to be very satisfied with it. So they took some extra time to ensure this was all happening. Cool. But as a result, they ran out of time to do their usual QA cycle. So supposedly the last 2 weeks of delay are just so they can fit in the usual QA, which is okay. Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, not an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah. A lot of people were comparing it to Cyberpunk was the God, that was a year ago, wasn't it? Wow, that seems
it was last December.
But that was also kind of a last minute, very short time frame delay, and I forget what reason they gave for that, but you get the impression that probably should have taken more than 2 weeks. Clearly there was a lot more work to be done, but that's how long they gave them. Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. I'm sorry. At least you have plenty of time now to play Battlefield.
It's true. Yeah, if there's one silver lining, I'm now I can play the Battlefield game that I was going to just have to ignore. Maybe I'll even play some Pokemon. Games. Who knows?
Yeah. Coming out Thanksgiving week, right? This is it's always a big crush at that point to get games out.
Yeah. I'll be able to tell my family I'll be able to make it for Thanksgiving this year. It'll be great.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. No, I wasn't planning to skip out on Thanksgiving. That's ridiculous. Now I'll just have even more time to hang out with everybody.
Right. There you go. You could play Battlefield with your family.
Yeah, that's right. Traditional Thanksgiving LAN party. Just do some conquest.
The Ross family LAN party.
Oh, man.
Yep. Excellent.
That would be something.
Cool. Well, I'm sorry for your delay, but it sounds like you will still be able to get in some quality game time between now and the end of the year.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I've made my peace with it.
Yeah. Well, you can't change it, so you kind of got it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just one of the most important things you can do is just realize when things are out of your control and just kind of roll with it. I think a lot of gamers would do well to just internalize that.
Yeah, it's good advice. I'd back that.
But anyway, speaking of rolling with it, I played a lot of games this weekend.
We did, a ton. Where do you want to start? How did you feel your morning? What did you do with your AM?
I don't know. It's always hard to tell where to start. I always start off with Spelunky because of they got that daily challenge. It seems like, I don't know. It seems like an obvious place to start because it's just...
It seems like an opportunity to play Spelunky twice in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice way to bookend the marathon. At this point, or at the beginning of Saturday, I probably hadn't played Spelunky in many months. So I was a little rusty going to the daily. I think it did not go very well. I just fell on some spikes fairly quickly.
Do you only get one attempt to do the Spelunky challenge and then you're done?
That's it. Yeah, you got one shot.
Oh,
wow. Because the idea is everybody playing that day's daily gets the same map. So it's like one of the only ways you can really directly compare your progress against other players.
Because every time you play the game, it's sort of a remix, right? It's a bit of a...
Right.
Yeah.
So there's been some interesting discussions sometimes where people will be like, oh man, daily was real weird today. Or like this thing happened. Like, oh, I found an incredibly rare item in a box on level 3. So, keep an eye out for it or something. I don't know how much people compare notes around the daily, but it is just an interesting aspect of that game where it's something that, an actual way to sort of compare notes.
Sure. An actual sort of shared experience, because in general, when you play Spelunky, you're not having the same experience as other players.
Yeah. I mean, you potentially are having similar experiences, but never the exact same sort of prescribed experience. So
right,
that's very
that's
cool.
interesting.
That's something I really enjoy about it.
I taking inspiration from you for the last couple of years. I have been doing the Slay the Spire daily challenge to start my day, and it is sort of a rough way to wrap my brain around anything at 7 a.m., let alone a game that is kind of difficult and requires a fair amount of concentration and sort of keeping track of cards and things like that. It's is surprisingly mentally taxing for that early in the morning.
That's an ambitious thing to play when you're just like rolling out of bed.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of games that have daily challenges, though. So I don't have to do something like that, but I just sort of felt like, well, DJ has this cool little routine going. Maybe I can kind of create my own with with Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's a deck building game. Essentially, you get you build a deck of cards and you take little battles on your way up a spire to try to take on bosses and stuff like that. And a successful run from the base to the top is called in-game parlance, an ascension. Mm-hmm. Having not played this game for a year and playing it at 7 o'clock in the morning and playing the daily challenge, which is always some weird remix. It's always a weird rule set that sort of modifies the way that the standard, playable characters work, the way that you earn cards, the way that you proceed through the dungeons and stuff like that. It randomly sort of get a whole new rule set for these daily challenges, which kind of keeps it fresh and interesting, but you never know what you're kind of walking into. But I had a successful ascension after, in light of all of those conditions, was able to get from base to peak in a single playthrough quite successfully. So I feel real good about that. I feel like this little reminder, I was like, I'm really good at this game, and it's really good. So I should play this more often.
I mean, that's not an easy thing to do in that game in general, right?
Yeah. This sort of daily remix was, a little in my favor. I think it sort of greased the wheels a little bit and made it a little easier for me to be able to play through. There were a number of sort of conditions that sort of made combat a little favorable towards me. So it kept me alive a little bit longer than I think generally I would be in an instance of playing Slay the Spire. So I'll give some partial credit to the rule set for the daily being beneficial. But it definitely was like a sort of a muscle memory thing. As soon as I sort of got into the first couple of rooms, I was like, I know how to do all of this. It felt really good.
Do they lock you into playing a specific character for the daily, or do you still get to pick?
No, it's a specific character.
Interesting.
They tell you. Yeah. For our listeners, there are 4 now playable characters in Slay the Spire, and each has a different set of abilities, has different sort of play styles. One of the characters leans very heavily on poison, and one of them is very sort of attack friendly and will go for very aggressive sort of physical attacks with a blade and stuff like that. So, I think Slay the Spire gamers tend to sort of lean towards their favorite in that alignment, and you don't get that choice in the daily. You kind of have to go with the one they assign you.
Yeah.
And they always change their abilities in some notable way. So it's you have no control over these conditions. So again, I feel pretty proud of the fact that I was able to get through a playthrough without just eating it on stream in front of human beings.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Good way to open up your extra life.
Yeah. From that point forward, nothing worked the rest of the day. Everything was completely broken. No games worked on the right time. I couldn't get the stream to work properly. Couldn't get my mic to work.
Oh, man.
Couldn't hear people when they were talking to me. It was just a disaster for the entire rest of the day. So I got all the goodness and all the positivity out of the way nice and early.
Just blew it all on that daily challenge. Oh,
correct, and the rest of the day was just a headache. Yeah. From a technical standpoint, playing the games and talking to people was super fun once it worked, but nothing worked on the first try.
I'm telling you, next year I want an intern to be managing all this stuff. One of these Twitch streamers who was just like, they came out of the womb and they already had their RGB headset going. They just innately understand how all of this works.
We'll take it. We're now hiring. Send your applications to contact@VGHangover.com.
Right. Not serious, but also not entirely unserious.
And also, this pays nothing.
Yeah. You make as much as we do. We'll just say.
Right. Much like my job and DJ's job, this job pays nothing. So, What else did you roll into after Spelunky, DJ? What else did you play over the weekend?
I played, I like to follow the daily challenge with a retro game, and this year it was Super Metroid, which I'm very happy to say I think holds up extraordinarily well. Always been a big fan of this game. Not even, like, I feel like it's tough to go back to the first two Metroid games, Super Metroid being the third one. Mm-hmm. But, like, those previous games, they're pretty archaic at this point. Like, I mean, they have their merits, but it's tough. You really need to be committed to make it through either of those games. But Super Metroid is like, you know, you've got the map, which is a real important factor. You just have, like, a lot of Samus's sort of modern tool set comes from Super Metroid. So it just feels very familiar. And, man, that game does so many cool things I had completely forgotten about. That a lot of them I didn't even make it to during the game, but I was just like, it was such a rush of nostalgia to play this thing and just remember, like, all the things that game did. It's very fun.
Do you feel like that's sort of the template for kind of how Metroid was built from that point forward?
It's hard to say because there have been not a lot of Metroid games since Super Metroid.
Right, I was supposed to say, yeah, I realized the folly of that as I was saying it. I'm like, oh, in that 19-year gap, all of those Metroid games?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, you would think that. I mean, that's sort of how it went with Zelda.
Yeah. You find a formula that works.
Yeah. Maybe that's more true with, like, Ocarina of Time influencing future Zelda games and, I would say, Link to the Past. But, no, I mean, I think you can still definitely trace a lot of stuff in the Metroid games that have happened back to Super Metroid. Like, you have way more of a story component in Super Metroid. You have lots of distinct areas on the planet and these kind of, like, headlining boss encounters. You have all the classic sort of new power-ups that you pick up. What's going on? I don't know. It's just Super Metroid felt like such a jump beyond, like, the original Metroid. Even the jump from Metroid 1 to Metroid 2. It just felt like so much more of a fully sort of realized experience that like, you can see why people talk about it with such reverence. Like, there's some people who still say it's like the best video game ever made.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if I like rank it that highly, but, like, no, it's still pretty good. It's still really good.
Cool.
And it's like on the Nintendo Online thing. So if you have a Switch, if you have the online subscription, you can just play it, which is incredible. So fully intending to go back and spend a little more time with that because it was just great. Super fun going back to it. And also the boss battles were very manageable, I felt like. That was one of my issues with Metroid Dread, is that I just felt like the boss encounters were so unpleasant. But playing through this again, I was like, oh yeah, this is how I want a Metroid boss battle to feel. It was like just the right amount of sort of challenge and expectations. It was good.
Cool. What an exciting thing to sort of find that a game like that is still sort of accessible and still sort of resonates.
Yeah. I was real worried because it had been a long time since I had played it. But no, I think it was, didn't have any complaints. I did really miss the, like, 360-degree aiming that they've introduced in the more recent Metroids, but, like, that wasn't game-breaking or anything to not have that, so it was still fine.
Nice. I played the Artful Escape on Saturday. This is, I played this game at PAX a couple of years ago, and it took a long time for it to come out, and it finally came out, obviously. This is a cool little indie game, one of the Annapurna games, so it definitely has a sort of a strong artsy kind of vibe to it, where you are a young musician who has a very famous musician uncle who has, prior to the events of this game, has died and has a world full of fans.
Before you get further into it, are you aware of this sort of reputation around Annapurna games at this point?
Oh, maybe not. I don't know.
Which is, I feel like, I mean, you sort of started getting into it where they're like, oh, they're a little artsy. And then the second part of that is they're not very good.
Oh, really? Is that their thing?
I feel like I see more reactions along those lines as they become more of like a more visible publisher.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh man, this game is so cool, and it's like the graphics are so different, and they're really like trying something new. And then a few hours later, they're just like, and then I stopped playing it because I didn't like it anymore. So I always like, if somebody's like, oh, a new Annapurna game. All right, let's see how this goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I've played enough. I'd have to look back and through what their sort of catalog is. But I generally have sort of an association with them that, high production values for indie games.
Sure.
Yeah. And this game is beautiful. Like I said, you're a young musician who is about to do sort of their kind of first concert, and you're having a bit of an existential crisis about who am I as an artist, who am I as a musician. It's a lot of you sort of staring early, kind of wistfully off into the sunset, and sort of pondering, like, do I basically just want to walk in my uncle's footsteps and be kind of a popular folk musician like he was? You get sort of a strong kind of David Bowie, Bob Dylan kind of vibe from the uncle character, just based on his kind of reputation and what people sort of say about the music that he made in the context of this game. And you actually hear some of his music playing as you go to, there's a record store you go to and you have a friend that works there, and your uncle's music's always playing in the record store. So it's songs created for the video game, for the Artful Escape, and they're definitely sort of like 70s Bowie, probably 70s Dylan as well, and you definitely get that vibe. So he goes on an adventure. He meets a couple of aliens through unusual circumstances, and he travels throughout the galaxy, trying to determine what his style and his art will be.
But really nonchalantly introduce the fact that you just go off with some aliens. You're just like, you met some aliens.
Yeah, they need a fill-in. They need a musician to sort of, their guitarist is not available for some reason, and they land in your front yard one night and take you with them on a journey around the cosmos to be basically their kind of fill-in guitarist. But you use that as an experience, an opportunity to sort of experience the universe and try out some musical styles. They give you a cool suit and a flashy guitar.
Hey.
They teach you some riffs. And it's basically a game of Simon, where another guitarist will play a series of sort of color-coded button presses, and you have to ape them back in a similar manner. And it's always sort of like big kind of power chords, very sort of, I think Muse is probably the modern band that I sort of associate with that vibe, that sort of big, grandiose. Queen probably is another good example, like huge guitar licks that are still very kind of stadium friendly. So yeah, that is essentially the musical style you sort of land in the Artful Escape. So it's a bit about soul searching. It's a bit sort of about kind of finding your identity. It's certainly a lot about sort of appreciating different types of music and how they all sort of like converge and kind of grow from each other. So it's interesting. But maybe this sort of supports your theory on Annapurna games, but it's not much of a game, unfortunately. You can't really fail out of the Simon thing where you're trying to play back the guitar licks. And no matter how sort of poorly you do them, people praise your performance. So it's not really sort of built to like fail, which is cool. That's fine. I don't need games to be sort of like high stress, super friction kind of experiences. But, this is not Guitar Hero. This is not you sort of trying to get 5 stars on Through the Fire and Through the Flame. It's very user friendly, and it's more about sort of telling a story in a kind of an interesting way, and just packing a game full of really cool visuals and really interesting characters and just awesome music front to back, all created for the game. So it's just it's an interesting package that I guess is meant to sort of be sort of just enjoyed for what it is, rather than being angry that it doesn't, I guess, have an opportunity for you to flunk out of rock and roll school.
It does seem like, a lot of Annapurna stuff seems like it's more about, the experience rather than, demanding gameplay and all that.
Sure. This
so I think
definitely
that tracks.
That. Yeah. Didn't finish it, unfortunately. Didn't get across the finish line because we had another appointment to play another game. So I do want to go back to it, though, because I had a lot of fun with it. And I'm generally very kind of musically inclined. So it was a lot of me trying to sort of like figure out like every sort of galaxy he was in, or every style of music, or any song that you heard from like his family member, his uncle, and stuff like that. I was just trying to place like, oh, that's very sort of David Bowie. Oh, that's very sort of this band or this band. It was cool. It's definitely, if you're a music fan, or just wish Guitar Hero was a little more user-friendly and had a cooler story mode, then maybe this is a fun thing to check out. It's called The Artful Escape.
You know, I've always wished Guitar Hero and similar music games, they could come up with an interface where you could like just play the guitar without having to look at the notes on the screen. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
'Cause I think about this a lot when I'm playing Rhythm Heaven, is that the best mini games in those games you can play without looking at the screen because they're all based on like the song that's playing.
Sure. If you get the rhythm, you can sort of get it, right?
Yeah. Especially when they do the Simon Says kind of callback stuff. But I was just thinking, man, why can't they do that for Guitar Hero, where you wouldn't even have to look at the notes and you can just sort of intuit sort of which buttons you have to press. And then I realized, like, oh, I guess, that would just be playing guitar. At that point, you're just playing a musical instrument. You're not really playing Guitar Hero anymore. So
yeah,
I feel like there's still a kind of a gap there that needs to be crossed.
Yeah. I'm sort of racking my brain. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I played Guitar Hero, and not quite as long since I played Rock Band. But yeah, I think those games always had an easy mode that gave you sort of less notes to play and less of the guitar you had to use, and you weren't pushing all of the little frets and stuff like that. I'm not a musician. I apologize if that's not the right word for it. But I don't think there was just something where you could just sort of like try to
just jam out,
pretend to jam along with the music as it's playing, and just sort of appreciate the song and kind of feel like a rock star for a second. It was always about kind of a score attack and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know if that game exists, but I was just thinking, what if somebody could actually create that experience? I think that would be incredible.
Well, the other end of the spectrum is that Rocksmith, right, which was about sort of teaching you how to actually play electric guitar.
Yeah.
So I imagine your destination in that is to just play guitar along with cool music. But I still don't know if it's kind of failure proof in the way that maybe I think you and I are talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you fail at that, then you're just playing guitar poorly.
Right.
You're failing because you're actually playing incorrect notes.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Cool. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I think that was kind of a cool, fun discovery, and it's exciting to see it finally released after having played it at PAX, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I did not expect this to be a music game. I keep thinking, just based on the title, I imagine it's about somebody stealing paintings from a museum or something, but it sounds very different than...
Maybe that's the sequel. Maybe he has another crisis and decides to be an art thief, and it's just a whole art heist thing.
Yeah, his dad was a famous musician, and his mother was an art thief. So
right, that's the inevitable like reboot, whatever. Yeah, yeah. It's still called The Artful Escape, but it's just a whole different...
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. You got to get the keep the series going.
Right. You and I played It Takes Two together shortly after.
This was surprisingly good. I didn't know much about this going into it, other than it was just a co-op thing. And I was going to say, I have very specific expectations for co-op games that I will tolerate at this point. But this was actually pretty good. I think it, as far as co-op games go, it was one of the better ones that I've played.
I think when we were sort of in the co-op experience, it worked. Because it was fast, it was challenging, it was never sort of unnecessarily punishing. It gave, I think, both of us sort of things to do where we felt kind of important and useful to the solution of the puzzles we were trying to solve. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think from a co-op perspective, having somebody to sort of play along with was the game was clearly built with that in mind, and it did it well. I think the bookending of it, though, with the hook here is that it's a family that's sort of going through divorce, and they
this was the worst.
A daughter, and the daughter is playing with little toys, and she wishes her parents wouldn't get a divorce, and it somehow, like the Bride of Chucky, like her parents go into the little dolls, and your tiny little doll's trapped in a house of horrors, and trying to sort of escape and get to your daughter, and there's a book that talks to you and taunts you. It's just, there's a lot of like messiness in the periphery of you just playing this really fun co-op game.
Mm-hmm. That's the Annapurna component, when it's like, yeah, let's make it about bringing two parents back together.
Yeah.
Which I thought was especially ridiculous, because I was like, oh, okay, so it's going to be, these parents are having a hard time in their relationship, but because they have to go through this whole ordeal now where they're these horrific little doll versions of themselves, they are going to learn to work together and, resolve all their issues, and they'll end up as a happy family at the end. But then it's like, you turn into a doll, and then this terrifying book literally makes you do like marriage counseling exercises or something. So it's not like, it's like, not learn by doing these other things. Let's learn because you're going through a course on fixing your relationship, which I thought was like a little direct.
Not a lot of subtlety it takes two. Yeah, it's very little on the nose.
Yeah. But like, if you can look beyond that, the game was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I really appreciated that. Like, my big pet peeve when you're promising a co-op experience is that it's just two people playing the same game at the same time. Like, you play co-op Halo, and it's just a second Master Chief is there shooting his gun at the same stuff.
Sure,
but in this one, you kind of have different capabilities. Like, each player has their own sort of things they can interact with in the environment that the other player cannot necessarily do, which kept things very fresh and led to a lot of good moments, some good communication, some puzzle solving, like really light puzzle solving, but it's very good.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't puzzle solving sort of on the order of Portal 2, which I think is sort of gold standard co-op experience in my perspective. But yeah, I like that it sort of gave us individual roles and give us, as we got a little further into kind of the opening levels, gave us different tools to be able to use. At one, you're micro size in this. You've been shrunk, and DJ had nails.
He had my 3 nails.
Shoot. Yeah, you could shoot into like walls to create little spikes that I could kind of hang from and climb from. So we were looking for like, how do I get across this? And you would have to shoot 3 nails on the wall, and I would swing from them. And then I had some tool on the other end that I had to use to be able to allow you to pass. So there definitely were a lot of really kind of fun moments of us trying to figure out, how do I use the tool that I have to sort of allow my co-op partner to be able to progress. Yeah, and there were multiple incidents of that I thought were kind of fun. And there were fun little asides. There were little like secret areas that had little mini games that allowed you to use kind of different things to challenge each other and go for a little score attack as well. So I thought those were a little less successful than just actually getting through the platforming levels. But it was, again, kind of, they get points for creativity and trying to find ways to, give you things to do where you can sort of work kind of a little against each other and definitely more kind of for each other.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And apparently the unique skills that you have change throughout the different areas in the game, which we only played one because it was just a demo. But yeah, I like the idea that not only are you, like, each player, you're doing different things, but as the game progresses, you are doing, like, I don't know, you're swapping out those things for different abilities, which remain
for other
distinct
things.
from your co-op partner, which is very cool.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So it was surprisingly fun. I think what I would recommend is if you have a co-op partner, you can play online, or it's set up for couch co-op too. It actually does split screen.
Yeah. The split screen thing was interesting at first, because my first reaction was like, why is it split screen? Because we're playing online. Yeah. Like, why don't I just see my own screen? But actually, it turned out to be, I think, very very shrewd of them to do it that way, because there were a lot of cases where I'd be like, okay, so one of us needs to go over here, and I need to do this thing and time it in a very specific way, like when your character is here. And I found that I would try to like rotate my camera around so I could see where you were going. But then eventually I realized, like, oh, I can just look at exactly what you're seeing because I'm seeing like your screen on one half of my screen. Right. So that was actually very clever.
I think they did a really cool, the developers did a really neat thing sometimes too, where they would shift the size of the split. So more often than not, as we were playing together, it was split 50-50 down the middle. But if there was some segment of the game where, let's say DJ is trying to sort of like turn a crank to wind up a bridge, which I think was one of the things that we did, and I'm trying to sort of carefully cross the bridge so it doesn't fall under me, it would like push the screen, the split further to the left, so it made DJ's section much smaller. It made mine much a bigger part of the television sort of real estate, so that we could kind of focus on my activity together, because it was a little more, mentally taxing.
Yeah.
It did that a couple of times, and I was like, oh, that's some clever direction there too. I think they get a lot of kudos for sort of interesting execution on this. Like you, I think I started going, why is the split screen? That seems dumb. We should just have our own screen on the full thing. And then it sort of made the case for it through actions later. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, no, that actually turned out to be really good.
So I would play this whole thing. I think that was the surprise from this, is that, the whole divorce thing's a little sappy and dumb. And sad, because, like you said, I know where this is going. I know exactly how this is going to end. And, as a child of divorce, it doesn't always go that way. But yeah, I think the experience of actually sort of playing the games together and sort of surviving some of these little co-op challenges was a lot of fun. And I'm always looking for an interesting kind of asymmetrical kind of gaming experience like this.
Yeah. No, I had a good time with it. I would probably play the rest of it as well, as long as I had something to do whenever that the relationship counselor book was on screen and doing his creepy spiel.
Press X to skip.
Yeah. Was that an option? We should have just done that.
I don't know. I'm not sure. There should be. Hopefully in the full game, you don't have to endure that. Yeah.
Anyway, so mostly good, except for that weird, creepy book.
Yeah.
What else do we get into? I played, we want to talk about Animal Crossing. There was a lot going on. There was this big fall update. This is the first time I'd experienced any of it. And it's almost, I don't want to say it's like too much, but it was way more than I expected.
Oh, it's insane. It is like a whole new game.
I don't know if I go that far, but it's substantial.
Trust me, as somebody who has basically spent the last year and a half kind of walking in circles around their island looking for things to do, it feels like there's another game here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's funny because I always thought like I enjoy sort of the Animal Crossing rhythm of like logging in and doing your chores for the day. But one idea I had was that it would be interesting if there was just like a little too much to do every day, so you had to pick and choose sort of like your schedule for the day.
Oh, I could see that, sure.
And that never really... It always turns out that like you can just do everything for the most part. But with all this new stuff, I feel like it's kind of getting to that point where there's just so many other things that you can do. I'm just like, oh man, I got what I wanted, and I don't know if I like it. Or I'm just like trying to adjust to it, trying to figure out what to prioritize.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly was not the case at launch or for the first 18 months of release, because it I spent hundreds of hours with it. You spent quite a bit of time with it as well.
Yeah.
But it definitely was not the sort of full featured product that New Leaf was at launch. There was a lot, I think, that sort of Animal Crossing fans sort of perceived to be missing from the gaming experience.
Was there still that much missing though? I mean, I admit that there was some stuff missing, but when people say that, like, oh, it's only half the game this time, I don't think that's accurate.
Well, yeah. I don't know if I would say it's half the game. But yeah, there's definitely some sort of interaction points that were in New Leaf that didn't make it to New Horizons.
Sure.
Obviously, the cafe and stuff like that. And the cafe is in New Horizons now.
Yeah.
And you can go drink coffee, but you had a part-time job in the cafe in New Leaf.
Sure.
Like, you would have to make coffee for villagers when they came in. It was remembering their orders and stuff like that. And that does not appear to be in New Horizons.
Okay.
Unless it comes later. So it's sort of, you got the cafe, but it's not quite the entire cafe experience that it was in the previous game.
Okay, but like, was the cafe such a huge part of the Animal Crossing experience overall, though? Because, like, compared to, we've got New Horizons now. Oh, we lost the cafe, but in exchange, you can now terraform your entire island. Like, oh, well,
yeah.
Sorry.
Which clearly, was not in previous Animal Crossing games. Okay. I see you, DJ.
I mean, but that's just the sort of
I
thing.
Acknowledge your perspective.
People just seem so bent out of shape about the cafe. And I'm just like, I mean, I didn't do the whole part-time job thing because I was just like, that's not what I'm about. But I was like, do people really miss just going in and having a cup of coffee that much that they're just like, I can't believe that, they've given us this amazing, like, expanded Animal Crossing experience, but we don't have the cafe.
And therefore this game sucks.
Yeah. And Froggy Chair, but Froggy Chair is back in at this point.
Froggy Chair is back as well with the cafe. No, I don't. Yeah, I see your perspective. And like I said, this game was not lacking in time spent or entertainment value to me. Hundreds of hours spent on this freaking game before it even got an update. So yeah, I don't think it was an abject failure. It's just, there are touchstones from kind of previous Animal Crossing games that I sort of felt like, geez, it'd be nice if those things happened again.
Yeah. Although this update has so much stuff in it, though. They kind of brought back the town from, like, the Wii version.
Oh yeah, you have the city life, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's like a new little island that you go and develop, which I don't know, it's kind of more interesting. It's definitely more on theme with sort of the island lifestyle of New Horizons. But
so rather than having kind of a rotating cast of characters that visit your island on a random schedule to sell you sneakers or gardening supplies or whatever, you can now go to a separate island via plane ride and shop to your heart's content from these places.
Yeah. Which at first, I mean, if that had been in from the start, I don't know if I would have. I think I would have had issues with it, actually, because I think one of the interesting things about Animal Crossing is that it doesn't necessarily give you everything at all times. Like, you have to wait for the special merchants to show up, and sometimes they don't. They don't have everything in stock that you want, and sometimes they don't show up at all, and you just have to wait for them to come around again.
Right.
So if that had been available immediately, if you can just go and have access to them all at once, I think I would have felt like that would take away from sort of the experience. But
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I like having it sort of, you have to adjust to the game schedule. It's not necessarily about doing everything, like 100%ing the game as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But having it added now, so now you do have wider access to it, I think it's good. It's like, a year and a half after everybody has been able to spend all this time playing the game as it was up until a month ago, just giving them, easier access to things. I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I was going to say, there was a version of this in New Leaf where you had sort of the high street that had kind of all your shops and you could get a haircut and you could buy a pair of sneakers and you could go to the fortune teller and stuff like that. But there was a cadence to that. Like, you didn't have all of that sort of open for business on day one. It took time. You had to sort of collect resources and invite people to town and none of it happened quickly. And you're broke in the early days of any Animal Crossing experience. So, when they say you must bring 100,000 bills, it's going to take you some time to bank that money. So yeah, I don't know. I sort of do appreciate kind of having on-demand access to those things, and it seems like they added a lot of stuff to those vendors in New Horizons as well, and that the gardening guy, Leaf, is not just selling you the same stuff he would sell when he visits your town once a week. It's all kinds of extra. You can grow produce and make recipes and, grow wheat and tomatoes and things like that now. If you get a haircut, she has a whole menu of new haircuts you couldn't get before. So there's just, more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, Animal Crossing is all about the stuff.
Yeah. No, I still need to go hit up that guy for my wheat seeds or whatever, because I haven't really gotten into the gardening yet.
Yeah. This is a point of stress for me in this game now, in that some of the folks on our Discord, we have an Animal Crossing Discord. If you're back to Animal Crossing, you're looking for friends to play with, you're trying to share ideas or resources or find somebody who has wheat seeds, come to our Discord. Go to VGHangover.com and look for the link. You can hop right into our Discord and play Animal Crossing with us.
Yeah.
But what was my point? I don't remember my point.
Yeah, you're gathering wheat seeds. So I don't know. That was what I was doing.
This whole thing is stressful for me in that when you first started the game, when we all first started the game last March, the island was basically a blank slate. You had some weeds and stuff like that, and you got, expanding access to it over the first couple of days and weeks of playing it. But you're basically building from nothing. Now you have all of these cool new abilities and features and things in the game, and tools and decor items and things like that. But my island's done. I feel like I filled every corner of my island with stuff. Like, I built a cafe, I built a little amphitheater, I built all kinds of things, and now you've given me all these extra tools that I can build even more stuff with, but no more real estate. I don't have any more land. It's the same amount of land. And the game does not make it easy for you to get rid of stuff. There isn't like a delete all button unless you start over. So yeah, I'm feeling a little stressed now in that I want to build a garden. I want to grow vegetables and stuff like that, but like where? I don't have room for that. It's going to require me doing the big work of removing the amphitheater to build a garden center, and I don't know, it just feels like a lot of work. Plus I like the amphitheater, so why would I get rid of it? Can I just have both?
Gotta make some choices.
Yeah, I gotta make some difficult choices.
But yeah, that's kind of an issue I have with it, and we actually, while I was streaming this on Saturday, this came up in that there is so much more stuff you can do with the game now. There's the farming stuff. There's all this new furniture and ways you can customize existing furniture, which I think is really good. And in a lot of cases, it's stuff that I kind of thought was missing. But just the thought of redoing an entire section of my island, just the way that the interface works in this game is so unappealing, because it's just so slow. And I had this issue in the previous version, or not the previous version, but the way the game worked before this update, is that it's just so tedious to do anything on a large scale, which is weird because you're kind of expected. I feel like you are kind of expected to do this given all the terraforming tools and everything, the way you see people are making over their islands. It's just you have to do everything one tile at a time. And the example that came up when I was talking about it is you have all these new ways to customize your fencing now. But if I wanted to just change the color of all the fences on my island, for instance, I have to go and pick up every single individual section of fence. I have to go purchase customization kits one at a time at the shop. And then I have to go customize every single section of fence. Actually, I think you can customize a stack of fences at once. So that's a small bit of reprieve. But
you can buy customization kits up to 5 at a time.
A whole 5 at once?
5.
Wow.
What a luxury of riches, I know, yeah.
But then you have to go lay down every single individual section of fence again. And I was just walking around my island, just eyeing all the fencing that's been laid out and just thinking okay, so this is probably a solid afternoon of work just redoing the fencing, which I kind of appreciate, because Animal Crossing is not about a hectic lifestyle. It's not about doing everything on day one. It's about all these long-term projects, but I feel like it shouldn't be the systems. I mean, they surely weren't designed to be cumbersome because of that philosophy. It's just like they designed a bad system.
They just are cumbersome, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I have a corner of my island that I have let sort of wildflowers kind of grow rampant, and I feel like, oh, this is my template. This is the one sort of bare space on the island where I could probably do some work, and plant some tomatoes or something. But I have to remove those flowers one by one individually, and it's not just a matter of like walking up to them and pushing a button, because then you just pick the flower.
Oh yeah,
and then
flowers are a nightmare in this.
It grows back, yeah. Every time it rains, like they multiply like gremlins. It's a nightmare. So you have to like dig up every flower individually, which leaves a hole behind, and you have to kick dirt in the hole. And it doesn't just sort of throw away the flower. You pick it up and you put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
And eventually, over time, your pockets fill up, and you have to go find a garbage can or sell the flowers to somebody. And it's just all of these extra steps that I wish just would sort of get out of my way. I wish there was just a little like drag a little box across of dotted lines across and go delete everything that's here. And the game is just not built to be consumed that efficiently.
Yeah, which is too bad, because it's like clearly that's the way people, or not everybody, but the way a lot of people in the Animal Crossing community want to play this game, is they want to just be doing these amazing island conversions and just changing everything up as often as they feel like. And I was looking at that new what else came out with this, or sort of alongside this update. It was that Happy Home designer,
Happy Home Paradise.
Happy Home Paradise. And I was watching that, and I thought, well, this looks cool. It's a little more about like the internal interior decorating.
Sure.
But then it
gives you more space. It gives you a whole other like archipelago of islands to be able to sort of design and build on.
Yeah. But then I just thought, it's so just cumbersome to set up a house in this game. I can't imagine just having an entire game where that was all you did, and it was just still that sort of slow and tedious and inconvenient. Yeah.
I bought that, but have not rushed into playing it yet.
Okay, I'm curious to hear how it is, but I can't see
so
myself
much to
playing
do
it.
Again in the base game, but I don't find the interior decorating the most satisfying part of the Animal Crossing experience, so I'm not dying to play an expansion that is focused almost entirely on that. But I have $25. I grabbed it. It's more Animal Crossing. I'm going to check it out. I'll report back.
Nice. All right. This update has gotten me back into playing Animal Crossing every day, which is, I think they should be proud of themselves, because I dropped it. I forgot when. I think
that sense of discovery, that sense of newness is so critical in a game like this. And when you get to a point where you feel like you've seen everything, you fall off, right? I think you did, right?
But now I'm like, oh, maybe there's new stuff in the store today. Maybe there's new stuff on these islands, because I don't know how everything works. I don't really know how the crops and the cooking system works exactly. So it's cool. Just the potential that there's new Animal Crossing stuff out there to experience is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've checked in almost every day. I've missed a day or two here or there for the past year and a half. And I still, every day go to the shops, and I've not bought any articles of clothing in months because I got everything I wanted, but I still look every day. And now I go into the shops and there's new clothes I've never seen before.
Oh, are there new clothes? That's something I was.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of new clothes, new furniture, all kinds of new stuff to buy in the shops that I've never seen. Today I bought a skateboard. I'm like, there was not a skateboard in this game before.
Oh, wait, can you ride a skateboard around?
No, it's just decor.
Okay.
It's a decorative skateboard, but
interesting.
There's a skateboard in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That has been exciting to see new stuff added.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they really need to do. I know they said they're going to stop updating this, but just imagine if every 6 months they're like, oh yeah, 100 new items in the store will show up eventually. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. I mean, even if that was paid for, like you said, every 6 months we're going to add, 100 new pieces of furniture and 100 new articles of clothing for $10 or whatever. People would buy that. I would buy that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like The Sims, essentially. They just keep releasing new content packs. They'll have to design a new game every single time, but just give people more stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So, beyond Animal Crossing, is there anything else you wanted to sort of hit on before we wrap this thing up?
Getting a little long. I was going to mention this game, Faith. I played. I finally got through all of the games in my sort of spooky collection that I put together around Halloween.
Nice.
And this one was actually like I played a lot of games that were purportedly spooky, but were in reality were just like cute ghosts and pumpkins dancing around. Like it's like kind of spooky fun, right? Mm-hmm. But this game was actually kind of legitimately spooky. So I ended up playing it around midnight, I think. And I enjoyed it, so I thought I'd just throw out a quick recommendation. If you're looking for something simple that is like less than an hour long, for you to head on over to itch.io. This might be on Steam as well. I'm not 100% sure. But it's just a quick kind of spooky adventure game. The most notable thing about it is it's done in a graphical style which looks like an old like Commodore 64 game. So just super primitive graphics, really clunky sound effects, and just this horrible sounding synthetic or like synthesized voice. But I think it works so well with like the horror theme because like it's just a super minimal atmosphere. The artificial voice sounds terrifying. Whenever monsters show up on the screen, they're just this weird mashup of pixels that you really have to like, it draws a lot from your imagination to sort of fill in the blanks, if you know what I mean. But I thought what a great aesthetic for a horror game. You don't really need to see everything in crystal clear 1080p detail. It's nice if you can just have these weird suggestions of like monsters and terrible things on the screen.
What was the game you and I played? I think a year ago for Halloween. Was it Home?
Home, yeah.
Was like a 16-bit graphical kind of horror tale, and it's just sort of walking from left to right on the screen and creeping through assorted creepy places. And that game was super effective. You couldn't really see anything, little dashes of blood, red pixels are blood and stuff like that. So it wasn't graphic in the sense that you're playing Resident Evil or something like that, but. It definitely did a lot of work with music and with mood and with sound effects and ambiance and just sort of creeping dread. I think that was super effective.
Yeah. This one, cool. I think you'd probably check this out. It's very simple. I think there's even a couple of sequels, so I may take a look at those as well. Maybe next Halloween.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, but very cool. That's called Faith. It's on itch.io. Very good.
Cool. I played just a quick snip here, Back 4 Blood, which is a sort of spiritual sequel to Left 4 Dead, and Left 4 Dead 2, which for those of you of a certain age, maybe you've never heard of. They were back when Valve made video games. Those were video games about 4 co-op people trying to escape a zombie plague or a zombie horde.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of guns, and there was always sort of an escape point, and you had to sort of make your way through the level. There were inevitably some sort of like randomly dropped in, zombie bosses. They were like would run up to you and explode, or you had to be super quiet around, lest you disturb the witch and she goes full crazy person on you. Back 4 Blood is the same developers, I think, as Turtle Rock, is the folks who made Left 4 Dead, but they can't call it Left 4 Dead because Valve owns that, right, so now it's called Back 4 Blood, but it's just Left 4 Dead 3. So same thing, you and 3 friends trying to sort of kill as many or run away from as many zombies as humanly possible to get to the next safe house where you buy new guns and spend your resources on attachments and health packs and things like that to go out and do it all over again.
Interesting.
It's good. Yeah.
Did kind of Left 4 Dead have like the kind of economy system in it? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it was.
I don't think so. 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 I don't Not that I remember. No, I think that is sort of newly generated for Back 4 Blood. This actually has like a home base. It starts you like in a kind of Walking Dead like camp, where you've got kind of walls on all sides, and the zombies are just outside the walls, but you've got like vendors you can shop from, and
people hanging out,
Yeah,
selling
it actually felt like The Division. It's funny because I was playing it with Paul and Pete from our Discord, and they are guys I've played The Division with in the past.
Division squad mates.
Yeah, and the structure at the beginning was The Division all the way. It was this little army general will give you your missions, and here's where you can go squad up with somebody if you need to round out your team, and this person sells guns, but you've got to have coins to trade for it, and et cetera, et cetera. There was an outfitter, of course. You could get the gray hat with the red stripe or the gray hat with the white stripe.
Can you buy a black or possibly a navy blue beanie?
You can, absolutely. Which is irrelevant because 5 minutes into any level, all of you are just covered head to toe in blood and guts.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's also just in first person, right? So it's like you can't even see it.
Yeah, well, you can see your other players, but yeah, you can't really appreciate that gray beanie. But it's fun. It's super satisfying. There's something very kind of dumb and entertaining about on your left, watch out for that zombie sneaking up on you, and you and your friends just trying to creep through a junkyard or across a broken down dilapidated bridge or whatever, and not summon the anger of the horde.
Yeah, I think I had this on while I was making lunch or something, and I wasn't really watching it, but I could hear like, oh, zombies on the left, or like, oh, there's watch out for the big one. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember co-op games.
Yeah,
sound like a good time.
So absolutely, it feels like a retro gaming experience. I know Left 4 Dead was not that long ago, but I don't feel like there's a lot of games like this anymore, where it's you and three buddies just kind of there's an opportunity to do those in the Division, obviously, and Gears of War games and stuff like that. But they're always these sort of like giant games as service things that try to get you come back for seasons passes and blah blah blah. And Back 4 Blood is just sort of is what it is. It is a couple of chapters, all which sort of end in a boss battle, which sort of roll into the next chapter. You kind of get this little timeline across the bottom of the screen that tells you where you're at in terms of the chapters and your progression towards the boss. Yeah, it's got a thing where you can, get upgrades for your guns and stuff like that, because I feel like that's sort of obligatory in modern shooters. But it's just sort of like entertainingly sort of efficient in what it is. Yeah.
I feel like Left 4 Dead was just so big. Like there wasn't a lot of space for other games like this. And then I don't know what happened. It just went away for whatever reason. So I think it'd be great if like this catches on, reignites everybody's interest in Left 4 Dead, that type of game, because it would be great if these developers could get a break.
Yeah. I think there have been some like kind of interesting experiments over the years. There was that game Evolve. Do you remember that, where it was?
Yeah, well, I mean that was the same team, right? That sort of felt like they have all this.
Was that Turtle Rock? I don't think I made that connection.
I think it was, and it felt like we made Left 4 Dead that was really successful. We've got all this experience designing these sort of like asymmetrical co-op experiences. Let's try this other idea, and then it just didn't land quite as well for whatever reason. So it's kind of nice to see them coming back to this like tried and true, like, oh yeah, everybody likes Left 4 Dead, let's just make another one of those.
Just make another Left 4 Dead, yeah. So I want to play more of it. I think that was we all wrapped up our play session of going through the first chapter together. A little defeated because we couldn't just after 3 attempts could not get past the final encounter.
Well, it'd be no fun if you just made it to the helicopter immediately, right?
Right, yeah, you got to work for it, exactly. That's how you keep coming back to these things. But I think we were all sort of left with the impression I would play a ton of this. If we could schedule and coordinate lives and be able to sort of be on together and at the right time and the right day, I think I'd play a shit ton of Back 4 Blood.
All right. What did you play this on? Is this on like Xbox?
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. So I played it on Xbox. I believe other folks on our little play session were on PC as well, so it has crossplay in that way.
Yeah.
But it's free to play if you've got a Game Pass.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. free in the sense that you pay for it, but not really pay for
included with Game Pass.
Correct. There you go. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So all in all, a good, fun, productive Extra Life day. Some old games, some new games, some video game comfort food.
Yeah. Plenty of stuff that I didn't even get to. So just material for the next 10 weeks of shows. Or, not quite that much. But
yeah. We should do that like once a quarter. Just do, a full 24-hour gaming experience and just bank gaming experiences to talk about for the rest of the quarter.
Yeah. But in June, people will be like, why are they still talking about these games that came out in January?
Right. You're kind of limited by the release schedule.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this thing up. If you need even more video game hangover after all of this, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And don't forget, you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about the episode at VGHangover.com. I would love for you to join us on Discord. If you're back with a vengeance in the world of Animal Crossing, definitely hop into our Animal Crossing channel. You can get a link to our Discord at VGHangover.com.
Yeah, do all your grocery shopping there.
Yeah, exactly. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcast app of choice. If you're on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, thumbs up.
Yeah, give us one of those 5-star reviews.
Subscribe.
Say something nice. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever they do on there.
Perhaps most importantly, help us out by telling your friends about the show. Word of mouth is the best way for helping us sort of grow our audience.
All you have to do, just tell 10 friends, tell them to each tell 10 friends, and before you know it, everybody on Earth will be listening to the VG Hangover show, so that'll be terrific.
We will just be sort of rolling in podcast likes.
Oh, man. Speaking of rolling in likes, I want to give thanks again to Hal Binderman for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to heavyviper.bandcamp.com. Listen to some more of his stuff. Possibly buy an album or two.
Do it. We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.